At the tender age of 10, Caroline Collins harbors ambitions that stretch far beyond her years. Her passion for performance arts and her unwavering admiration for Hollywood icon Tom Cruise fuel her aspirations. However, beneath her cheerful exterior lies a devastating reality: her cardiac condition is deteriorating rapidly, with time slipping away. When her mother's heartfelt online plea reaches global audiences, it captures widespread attention. Remarkably, it also reaches Tom himself. What transpires afterward transcends expectations. Within mere hours, Caroline's seemingly unattainable wish will intersect with reality, creating not just an encounter, but a transformative experience that alters everything. If you find value in narratives like this one, consider subscribing to our channel. Tomorrow brings another exceptional tale worth your attention. Darkness had settled comfortably over the small community Caroline called home. Standing before her bedroom mirror, Caroline clutched a hairbrush, transforming it into an imaginary microphone. "I am Ethan," she announced with dramatic flair, her eyes gleaming enthusiastically. "I know Kung Fu," she declared with conviction, embodying the character with impressive commitment. This performance occurred weekly following her family's established custom of movie appreciation. Caroline, alongside her father, mother, and younger sibling George, participated in an established tradition. Every Friday evening, the family selected a Tom Cruise film for communal viewing. These experiences held magical significance for Caroline. Despite being merely 10 years old, her greatest aspiration involved becoming a professional actress and eventually sharing screen time with Tom Cruise. She maintained complete faith in this possibility, reasoning that every acclaimed performer began with similar aspirations. Despite her infectious enthusiasm, Caroline concealed something significant from public knowledge. Something that generated fear during quiet nighttime moments as she lay in bed. Her cardiac condition. Since early childhood, Caroline had battled a serious heart ailment. Her parents, Grace and David, made every effort to provide her with typical childhood experiences. Nevertheless, Caroline perceived the difference. She noticed her rapid exhaustion during playground activities when other children continued playing. She felt the discomfort when climbing staircases left her clutching her chest. She observed her mother's anxious gaze, constantly monitoring her with excessive caution. Caroline resisted being treated as fragile. She aspired to resemble the protagonists from her beloved films. Consequently, she never voiced complaints. That evening, following movie night, Caroline reclined in bed with her favorite blue journal beside her, her personal diary. She opened to the final page and, in careful penmanship, wrote, "My biggest dream is to meet Tom Cruise." A smile crossed her face. Perhaps someday. She closed the journal, holding it against her chest. That's when the sensation struck. Intense pressure gripped her. Momentarily, her breathing ceased. Her body temperature plummeted. She closed her eyes, attempting to dismiss the sensation. Then, as swiftly as it appeared, it subsided. She inhaled deeply, forcing a smile. "It's okay, Caroline. You're strong." Outside her room, however, her mother had witnessed everything. Grace entered cautiously, avoiding startling her daughter. "Caroline," the girl opened her eyes and smiled. "Hi, Mom." But Grace detected every subtle sign. She noticed the slight tremor affecting Caroline's fingers. She observed perspiration forming across Caroline's forehead. She recognized the fear disguised behind her daughter's cheerful expression. Grace knelt beside the bed, taking Caroline's hand. "Are you okay, sweetheart?" Caroline hesitated briefly. Then, maintaining her typical facade, she concealed the truth. "Just a little tired, Mom. But I'm fine." Grace felt her heart constrict. She recognized her daughter's reluctance to cause concern. However, she also understood the critical nature of their situation. Time constraints were tightening, and Caroline couldn't maintain pretenses indefinitely. Caroline's mother sensed something amiss. The clock continued ticking relentlessly. The hospital environment maintained an unsettling silence, interrupted solely by cardiac monitoring equipment's rhythmic signals. Grace maintained her position beside the bed, clasping Caroline's small hand between both of hers. The young girl remained unconscious, her expression peaceful. Nevertheless, Grace couldn't dispel the anxious dread permeating her thoughts. Just hours earlier, Caroline had collapsed in their residence. One moment, she rehearsed favorite dialogue from Tom Cruise films. The next, she clutched her chest, struggling desperately for air. Grace rushed her to emergency medical services. Now, she awaited information she dreaded receiving. The door opened quietly. Dr. Browns, a compassionate physician in his late 50s, entered the room. Grace stood immediately, her heartbeat accelerating. "Doctor? Is she okay?" Dr. Brown sighed, reviewing Caroline's medical documentation. "Mrs. Collins, Caroline's cardiac condition has deteriorated." Grace experienced sudden vertigo. She gripped Caroline's bed frame for stability. "Deteriorated? What precisely does that indicate?" The physician's tone softened. "It indicates she requires cardiac surgery. Urgently." Grace felt claustrophobic. She shook her head, struggling with comprehension. "But we've been managing her condition pharmaceutically. She's been stable." Dr. Browns nodded gently. "I understand, but her cardiac function continues weakening. Without prompt surgical intervention, her survival probability decreases significantly." Grace struggled breathing. "What time frame are we discussing?" Dr. Browns hesitated before responding. "Weeks, possibly less." Grace nearly collapsed. She grasped nearby furniture for support, her vision blurring. Caroline's dreams wouldn't span years. She barely had weeks remaining. A gentle voice interrupted Grace's spiraling thoughts. "Mom." Grace turned immediately, heartbroken by her daughter's drowsy appearance. Caroline produced a weak smile. "Did I frighten you?" Grace forced cheerfulness, restraining threatening tears. "Somewhat, my love. But you're stable now." Caroline nodded contentedly, stretching her small arms before surveying her surroundings. "Oh wow. A hospital. Just like cinematic portrayals." Grace produced a soft laugh, despite increasing emotional pain. Her vibrant daughter remained unaware of her limited remaining time. Suddenly, Caroline's expression brightened as though recalling something significant. "Mom, I've been considering. Do you believe there's sufficient time to meet Tom Cruise before my operation?" Grace froze. The question struck devastatingly. Caroline's dream. Her singular true aspiration. Grace maintained vocal steadiness. "You genuinely wish to meet him, correct?" Caroline nodded eagerly, excitement illuminating her eyes. "Absolutely. He represents heroism to me. I intend telling him about my future acting career similar to his." Grace swallowed emerging emotion. How could she reveal reality to Caroline? The financial constraints, the nearly impossible surgical costs, the diminishing time frame. Instead, she provided the only possible response. She smiled. "We'll see, my love. We'll see." Caroline beamed, completely unaware of her mother's internal turmoil. That night, after Caroline succumbed to sleep, Grace remained in the hospital room, staring at her mobile device. She lacked solutions. No financial resources. No method for saving her daughter. Tears streamed down her face as she accessed Facebook. Then, impulsively, she initiated something previously unimaginable. She began typing, "My name is Grace, and my daughter Caroline represents the most devoted Tom Cruise enthusiast worldwide. She battles serious cardiac disease, and we've recently discovered she requires urgent surgical intervention." Her greatest aspiration involves meeting Tom. I doubt this message will reach him, but should it somehow find him, please understand his significance to her. His portrayal of heroism shapes her beliefs, and currently, she desperately needs heroic intervention. She hesitated, finger suspended above the posting button. Would anyone notice this message? Would anyone respond compassionately? Taking a deep breath, she completed the posting. Then, she waited, unaware that within hours, this narrative would capture global attention. Grace couldn't anticipate how her modest post would soon evolve into something far exceeding expectations. Grace remained awake throughout the night. She maintained her position in the hospital chair adjacent to Caroline's bed, monitoring her mobile device, observing the Facebook post composed hours earlier. Initially, minimal response occurred. Several appreciative reactions, a handful of supportive comments. Then, dramatic transformation began. 1,000 shares, 5,000 shares, 20,000 shares. Grace's device vibrated constantly. Her message inbox overflowed. Her desperate appeal regarding Caroline, her 10-year-old daughter battling severe cardiac disease, spread exponentially. Celebrities, journalists, global strangers shared her narrative. A young girl's aspiration involves meeting Tom Cruise before cardiac surgery. Let's accomplish this. Tag Tom, he requires awareness. Grace covered her mouth, overwhelmed. Could this possibly reach him? By morning, telephone communications commenced. Journalists, television networks, news organizations. Everyone sought Caroline's story. People extended beyond sharing, they contributed financially toward surgical expenses. Then, greater developments unfolded. A morning news segment broadcast, a mother's emotional plea has achieved viral status, attracting millions. Her daughter Caroline, confronting severe cardiac disease, dreams of meeting actor Tom Cruise before surgical intervention. Grace watched incredulously. Across the country, in Hollywood, Tom observed similarly. Tom Cruise stood in his kitchen, consuming coffee when his device vibrated. A text from his assistant, "Review this immediately." Attached appeared the viral posting. Tom accessed it. He read thoroughly. He observed Caroline smiling, her artistic creations, her video portrayals of his cinematic scenes. Then, he noticed diary entries. My greatest aspiration involves meeting Tom Cruise. Tom placed his coffee aside. His emotions intensified. He acted without hesitation. He contacted his assistant. I wish to meet her. Lisa paused. When? Tom's voice maintained steadiness. Today, at the hospital. Grace continued processing developments. Then, her telephone rang. Unknown caller. She hesitated before answering. Hello? A calm, resonant voice responded. Hello. Am I speaking with Grace Collins? Grace's breathing halted. She recognized that voice. Yes? A momentary silence followed. This is Tom Cruise. Grace froze. Her cardiac rhythm interrupted. Tears formed. I observed your post regarding Caroline. I'd appreciate meeting her. Grace covered her mouth, struggling for breath. Are you serious? Completely. She stifled emerging sobs. She'll experience tremendous happiness. Tom smiled. I certainly hope so. I'll arrive within hours. Thus, Caroline's dream approached reality. Tom commenced travel. And Caroline remained unaware her hero would soon appear. The hospital room maintained tranquility, populated solely by mechanical rhythmic sounds and muffled corridor conversations. Caroline sat upright, reviewing her blue diary. Those pages contained her greatest aspiration. Words rehearsed repeatedly anticipating potential meetings with Tom Cruise. A dream. A beautiful, seemingly impossible dream. She sighed, embracing the diary. Her mother Grace sat nearby, forcing cheerfulness. "What occupies your thoughts, sweetheart?" Caroline smiled broadly. "If Tom acknowledged my existence, do you believe he'd appreciate me?" Grace experienced emotional pain. She stroked Caroline's hair, restraining tears. "He would adore you." Caroline beamed, unaware her mother concealed significant information. Outside the hospital, a black SUV approached. Tom Cruise emerged, dressed casually in dark denim and black formal jacket. His expression remained composed, though his eyes reflected determination. Lisa, his assistant, hurried alongside him. "Are you certain about this approach? No media presence, no security personnel?" Tom affirmed. "This isn't intended for cameras, Lisa." Lisa exhaled. "You truly represent something extraordinary." Tom displayed slight amusement before entering the hospital. Inside, medical personnel paused. "Is that actually Tom Cruise? Why would he visit here?" Ignoring murmurs, Tom approached reception. "I'm here visiting Caroline Collins." The receptionist stared, astonished. "You mean the young girl featured in news reports?" "Yes, which room?" 306, third floor. Tom smiled appreciatively. "Thank you." Without additional comments, he proceeded toward elevator services. In Caroline's room, Grace's device vibrated, displaying unknown sender text, "I've arrived." Grace's pulse accelerated. She addressed Caroline, still discussing her admiration for Tom's filmography. She remained unaware. Grace prepared herself. "Sweetheart, prepare yourself emotionally." Caroline frowned. "Why? What's happening?" Grace hesitated before whispering, "Because I believe your dream approaches fulfillment." Caroline tilted her head confusedly. Then, the door opened slowly. Caroline turned, discovering Tom Cruise standing in the doorway. For the initial occasion in her existence, Caroline experienced speechlessness. Her mouth opened soundlessly. Her hands tightened around her diary. Tom entered, smiling gently. "Hey, Caroline." Caroline's eyes welled with tears. Grace covered her mouth, already crying. Caroline reached outward, trembling. You're actually real?" Tom laughed softly. "I believe so." Caroline produced slight laughter. "Oh my God." Tom knelt beside her bed. "I heard you wished to meet me." Caroline nodded rapidly, tears descending her cheeks. This seems impossible." Tom smiled. "Sometimes, impossible things materialize." Caroline covered her face, overwhelmed. Tom gently took her hand. "I'm genuinely pleased meeting you, Caroline." Caroline sobbed openly, gripping his hand. Grace sniffled, drying tears. "You cannot comprehend this moment's significance for her." Tom regarded Grace, then returned attention to Caroline. "Well, I'm available as long as desired." Caroline's eyes widened. "Forever." Tom laughed softly. "I wish that were possible. But let's make today extraordinary." Caroline dried tears, determined enjoying every second. "I have extensive information to share with you." Tom smiled. "Then let's commence." This wouldn't merely represent Caroline's life's greatest day. It would simultaneously prove most challenging. Caroline had never felt more vitality. For the past hour, she sat in her hospital bed, conversing continuously with Tom Cruise, the individual she had admired throughout her remembered existence. Her diary remained open upon her lap, containing questions and dreams previously deemed impossible. Today, however, impossibility ceased existing. Tom listened with genuine interest, appreciating her enthusiasm, acknowledging her narratives, and responding to every inquiry warmly. Grace sat nearby, observing her daughter's joy with grateful but weighted heart. She understood this moment's fragility. Its impermanence. Caroline grinned broadly. You realize, I've practiced acting anticipating potential meetings with you. Tom raised an eyebrow curiously. Indeed? Demonstrate for me. Caroline straightened posture, inhaled deeply and whispered dramatically. Guns. Lots of guns. Tom erupted in laughter. That performance was flawless. Caroline giggled happily. Eventually, I'll become an actress, resembling you. Tom took her small hand, squeezing gently. You've already achieved that status. An exceptional one. Caroline's eyes widened impressively. Truly? Genuinely? Grace battled emerging tears. She wished preserving this moment indefinitely, maintaining her daughter within this joyful state. Because internally, she sensed it. Something ominous approached. Then, Caroline's complexion paled significantly. Her breathing altered. She clutched her chest area. Tom's smile disappeared. Caroline? Grace leapt forward. Baby? What's wrong? Caroline swayed unsteadily. Then, her body collapsed forward. Tom caught her before impact. Caroline? Grace's scream shattered surrounding atmosphere. Hospital alarms activated. Doctors and nurses rushed inward, displacing Tom and Grace. Chaos erupted. Tom remained immobile, fists clenched, observing doctors working frantically. A nurse attempted guiding him elsewhere, but he refused movement. Grace's knees weakened. A doctor addressed her urgently. Her cardiac functions failing. We require immediate surgical intervention. Tom stepped forward. Implement whatever necessary procedures. Simply ensure her survival. Caroline was transported away, her small form motionless. The emergency surgical area doors closed forcefully, leaving Tom and Grace standing helplessly in the corridor. Grace collapsed into seating, sobbing. Tom sat beside her. His hands clasped tightly. Minutes passed. Then, an hour. Grace whispered, I cannot lose her. Tom turned toward her, voice steady. You won't. Grace searched his expression. Tom strengthened his grip on her hand. She demonstrates strength. She'll persevere. Grace exhaled shakily. But what if? Tom shook his head. Don't verbalize it. Maintain belief. The surgical area doors remained secured. Inside, doctors battled preserving Caroline's life. Outside, Tom and Grace maintained their singular remaining possession. Hope. Hours later, the surgeon emerged, appearing exhausted. Grace rose immediately. Doctor, is she stable? Tom stood beside her. His fists remained clenched. The doctor hesitated. Caroline survives. Grace released relieved sobbing. Tom exhaled, shoulders relaxing. But then. Her cardiac function remains severely compromised. She won't survive without transplantation. Grace staggered backward. No. Alternative approaches must exist. Dr. Brown sighed. Without donor availability, she won't survive beyond several days. Tom's jaw tightened. Then we locate a donor. Immediately. Dr. Brown shook his head. The process involves greater complexity. Tom's expression darkened. It simplifies when refusal to surrender exists. Then, he retrieved his communication device. I'm initiating certain communications. Grace blinked confusedly. Tom, what actions are you taking? He met her gaze, voice calm but determined. Securing Caroline's miracle. Tom exited, dialing a private number. The connection established instantly. Tom, what's wrong? It was Dr. Langston, leading transplant specialist. Tom proceeded directly. I require cardiac tissue for Caroline Collins. Dr. Langston hesitated. Tom, that process typically requires months. Tom's voice hardened. Then expedite the process. I'll manage financial aspects. Silence extended. Then, very well. I'll begin necessary communications. Tom closed his eyes, relief washing over him. Thank you. Hours later, Dr. Browns rushed into the waiting area. We've located donor tissue. Grace gasped, gripping Tom's arm. Are you sincere? Dr. Browns nodded. The organ's currently in transit. Grace sobbed relievedly. Tom exhaled, his body finally relaxing. Success had been achieved. Caroline received surgical preparation. Tom and Grace stood outside, observing. Grace whispered, I'm frightened. Tom squeezed her hand. She'll survive this ordeal. Grace nodded. I trust your judgment. And thus they resumed waiting. This time, however, hope accompanied them. 2 days later, Caroline opened her eyes. Grace gasped, rushing to her side. Caroline blinked, looking up at Tom. Momentarily, she simply stared. Then, I didn't imagine it. Tom smiled. No, young lady. Reality persists. Caroline's eyes filled with tears. Did I survive? Grace squeezed her hand. Yes, sweetheart. You succeeded. Caroline laughed weakly. I feared missing my significant opportunity. Tom chuckled. Not remotely possible. Then, he reached inside his jacket, retrieving an envelope. Caroline's hands trembled while opening it. Inside appeared a movie script. Her eyes widened significantly. A Star is Born, written specifically for Caroline Collins. Tears rolled down her cheeks. You created a role for me? Tom nodded. I informed you, young lady. You represent stardom. Caroline clutched the script, crying softly. I'm speechless. Tom smiled. Just provide one promise. Caroline dried her tears. Anything. Tom leaned closer. Never abandon dreaming. Caroline produced shaky laughter. I won't. And she maintained that promise. Years afterward, Caroline established her acting career. During an award ceremony, she stood on stage, surveying the audience. Tom occupied front row seating. She smiled. Then, elevating her award, she pronounced, "This honors the individual who taught me dreams maintain persistence." Tom returned her smile, pride evident. Because he recognized Caroline had become precisely her intended identity, a star. Thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoy this video, and learned a lesson. I would be grateful for your likes. Also don't forget to subscribe and comment on the video. See you soon.